There are many forms of the death meditation practice in Hinayana and Mahayana. And that's a good thing. It's good to have many different modes and methods. But a very brief practice to contemplate might be around the 4 elements: earth, water, fire, air. If you have a few moments just to sit in a place, or even in motion, you don't have to be sitting, but to think, what's the earth element? What's the physical constituent of my body? And imagine all of those dissolving, like all the cells beginning to shrink. Billions and billions of cells that make up my body. Maybe they start slowing down, and they're usually continuously in motion. Earth element, say water, fluid, blood, cerebral spinal fluid, which is continuously moving. Imagine all of that water fluid movement beginning to slow down and coming to stillness. Water. Fire. Think about the warmth. The heart and the blood is continuously like generating warmth and distributing it throughout the whole body. You can begin to think that all the warmth is beginning to dissipate, and you even become cold. And then air, earth, water, fire, air. So air could literally be the air as in like respiration, breathing, that our breath begins to get shallow and then actually stops. And there's no more movement of air through the nose, through the lungs, no more oxygen delivered to each cell in the body. So it's really slowing everything down into stillness. And then even if we say there's a 5th element, sky or consciousness, that gross levels of consciousness, my name, myself, words, language begins to dissolve, and there's no more thought, there's no more even subtle thought or concept, and then even inner and outer stops. And then again, stillness. And then out of compassion, you regenerate the energy of earth, water, fire, air, consciousness, or sky, components of what makes up a human being. And they are generated and propelled back into shape, form, energy, out of care and compassion for others. So in one way you can do this very quickly, like in a few breaths, or you can do it over a few minutes, you can do it over an hour. You can do it in the middle of sitting on a bus or a pizza shop or in the street, and think about how literally all these elements could dissolve and then be re-energized. That's a very brief but powerful practice. I think that if you do this regularly, then an appreciation for impermanence, the transient nature, which just biologically we know from moment to moment cells are dying and new cells are being made. So there's a biological basis for that. We know the neurons are firing, stop firing. We know the thoughts arise and then they dissolve by themselves without doing anything. So that appreciation, that kind of more like visceral feeling of impermanence, appreciation for impermanence, means that anything that I use to identify myself is changing from moment to moment. Earth, water, fire, air, thought, physical, non-physical. These are just momentary fluctuations, and nothing good or bad about that. But the self that I project onto that is a choice. And if that's a choice, then there's more freedom. And then it gets interesting.